Alright, so let's focus on if else now. And I'm just going to draw a flow chart diagram to represent the workflow of the if and if else. And I'm just going to begin with this diamond shape, which will represent the condition. So imagine we have like if something, if it rains, for example, any condition. Okay, let's assume if it rains, then if it's true, execute the first sentence, which is, for instance, wear a jacket or take an umbrella. Okay. Else, it will execute another statement. I'm just gonna call this statement 1. And this is statement 2. And then, of course, end the program. And end the program. Okay. So this is the simple flowchart. Now let's see this flowchart in action and how we can implement it. Alright, so let's write a small program that will decide the age or classify the age. Classify or age classification, let's call it. Age classification. And what this program will do is that it will take an age. It will take an age. Okay, let's begin with an uppercase. Then, okay, if the age is more than or equal 18, then this person is a man. Or not a man, let's call them an adult. An adult, okay? Otherwise, this person is still a kid or a child. Alright, as simple as that. And then let's declare an age equals 18, and then see if the statement age more than or equal 18, execute this sentence, which is this person is an adult. Else, execute this person is a child. Alright. And now let's debug and execute F5. This person is an adult. Alright, let's assume that we have 16 for an age. That won't satisfy the condition, so we'll jump to else and it will execute this one, and we should see this person is a child. This person is a child, like expected. Now, let's assume that you didn't add else, you just added like this statement. Then what will happen? Then this statement is not really tied to anything in the application, so that means, and it's outside the scope of the parentheses, or parentheses, I'm sorry, which means that this sentence will be executed regardless to the if condition. So that means this sentence won't be executed because it doesn't satisfy this condition, and this sentence will be executed because it's outside the scope of the condition. This person is a child. However, if we switch this to 18, and this condition is indeed satisfied, then this statement will be executed. However, this statement will be executed as well because it's not tied to anything, like I told you. Let's see. You see? In order for us to tie this into the same condition, else, we need to put it inside an else statement. Now, focus on this idea. We've added the parentheses earlier in both the if and else as well. And if we decided to add more than one line, they'll work for me. For example, console.writeLine. This is the legal age to drive. And in this case, of course, both of these sentences will be executed, and this sentence will be discarded because it doesn't satisfy the condition. Let's see that. Yep, absolutely true. However, if we decided to move the parentheses, it will show us an error, since it will tell us this else is not linked to anything. For right now, I'll just comment out this else, just to see if both of them will still be tied to the same if. Execute. Well, the first condition has been executed because it's tied to if, and if satisfies the condition indeed, but the second one is really not tied to anything because it's outside the scope. And even if you decided to change the age to 11, let's say, then the first one won't be executed because it's linked to the statement, and the statement says, or the condition says, age more than or equal 18, and in this case it's not really. But the second one, because it's not tied to anything, it will be executed. You see? If you want them to be bound to the same if statement, then you should wrap them in parentheses like this. And that will do the magic for you. Now none of them happens. And if you want to uncomment this, you can just hit this, or you can hit the Control K, Control U to uncomment them, and Control K, Control C to comment them out. Okay. And to format a document again, if some of your lines were out of order, you can just hit Control K and Control D, and that will sort them out for you. Okay, let's take an example now to apply if, else, if statements. And let's take the student's average application. In this application, we'll take several grades. We'll take several grades, then calculate the average for. Now, if the average is 1 less than 50, the student has failed the year. Between 50 and 70, the student is accepted. More than 70 and less than 80, let's say, the student has a good mark. And let's say between 80 and 90, student has a very good mark. And lastly, more than 90, the student has an excellent mark. Let's apply that, and in order to apply that, first we need several grades or numbers, and I'm just going to use the double. And by the way, this is just a side note, whenever you name a variable, the naming convention won't allow you in C# to begin with a number, meaning you cannot say one grade or one number you have to say number 1 or grade 1 and so on. And you can start as well with an underscore or with a letter and then follow it with a number. That will work, but you should start with an underscore or with a letter. You cannot start with a number. So let's say number 1 equals 70 double number 2 equals 80 double number 3 equals 50. Okay, and then we do the calculation, which is double average equals number 1 plus number 2 plus number 3 over 3. Okay, that should calculate the average. Then if the average is less than 50, what I'll do is that we'll print out that this student, between double quotations, this student has failed the year. Now, else if, like this, the average is between 50 and 70, less than or more than or equal 50, and to type an and, we type it like this, Shift and 7 for Windows, and it will type and that means and. Average is less than 70, less than or equal 70. Alright, so console.write line accepted, else if average is more than 70 and average less than or equal 80. The third one, the student has a good mark. Okay. Good mark. Else average is more than 80 and average less than or equal 90, then very good mark. And else average is more than 90, but we can just add else because this is the only case left, or we can just add else if and then average more than 90 and less than 100, then console.write line excellent. And in case the average was less than 0 by a wrong calculation or more than 100, then we should type the calculation is wrong, perhaps. The calculation is wrong, and maybe we should adjust this condition to be average more than or equal 0 and less than 50. Yeah, that should do it. Okay, let's execute the program and see the result. And it says the user is accepted, and the reason behind that is that 50 plus 70 plus 80 is 200. 200 divided by 3 is 60. So 60 is within, like, approximately 60. We can add, by the way, we can add a line to tell us the average. Average plus average. and that should tell us the average. Okay, so 66.6. Okay, if we changed it to maybe 40, this one, make it 40, then the student should be still 53. Okay, accepted. Let's change this to 20. Now the student has failed the year. Okay, let's change this to perhaps 100, and this to 90, and this is to 80. Okay, so very good mark. And last but not least, let's change this to 100. Now 96. Excellent. And if we do like an error in the calculation where we added a number to be minus 90, for example, instead of 90, then this would be 36. But if we added two minus numbers, then the calculation would be wrong. The calculation is wrong. Okay, and we should add like, please, the calculation is wrong, please recalculate. Okay, so exactly. Alright, now to another type of conditional statements that we're going to perform, which is the switch. And let's just write a simple program to guess the number. Okay, let's call it that way. And let's assume that you have a number that you're going to enter, or the user going to enter. So enter a number between 1 and 5, and then we'll make the user enter this number. So will be number equals, well, we have a way to make the user enter a number, which is console.readLine. However, this read line can enter only strings. It cannot enter numbers. So if you have your mouse over this error, you'll see like represent the standard input output an error stream for console application. This class cannot be inherited, cannot implicitly convert string to integer. And this is the key point. So in order for us to convert this input to an integer, we have to pass it. And in order for us to pass it, we have to write integer.pass between two round brackets, and then we can say switch, and then take the number, and then case 1, console.writeLine, you chose 1, and then break to end this statement, and then case 2, console.writeLine, you chose 2, and then break, case 3, you chose 3, then break. We'll continue case 4 and 5 the same manner. So case 4 and case 5, you chose 4, and then you chose 5, and then by any chance the user chose something else, we add a default. You chose a number out of scope. Okay, and then of course break. Okay, Control K, Control D, and then okay, we can implement this. Okay, let's assume I choose 1. Okay, you chose 1. Let's assume 5 or 2. I'm sorry, you chose 2. Let's assume 5 now. You chose 5. Let's assume I chose something else like 10. Then you chose a number out of order or out of scope. Okay, that's pretty much it.